Section 20 of Modern Magic. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by K. Hand. Modern Magic, a practical treatise on the art of conjuring, by Professor Lewis Hoffman. Tricks with coin without apparatus, Part 3. To rub 1 sixpence into 3. This is a simple little parlor trick, but will sometimes occasion great wonderment. Procure 3 sixpences of the same issue, and privately stick 2 of them, as directed for the florin in the last trick, with wax, to the underside of a table, at about ½ an inch from the edge, and 8 or 10 inches apart. Announce to the company that you are about to teach them how to make money. Turn up your sleeves, and take the 3rd sixpence in your right hand, drawing particular attention to its date and general appearance, and indirectly to the fact that you have no other coin concealed in your hands. Turning back the table cover, rub the sixpence with the ball of the thumb backwards and forwards on the edge of the table. In this position your fingers will naturally be below the edge. After rubbing for a few seconds, say, "It is nearly done, for the sixpence is getting hot," and, after rubbing a moment or two longer with increased rapidity, draw the hand away sharply, carrying away with it one of the concealed sixpences, which you exhibit as produced by the friction. Pocketing the waxed sixpence, and again showing that you have but 1 coin in your hands, repeat the operation with the remaining sixpence. The multiplication of money. This is an old and favorite trick. It may be performed with shillings, pence, or florins, as may best suit your convenience. Whichever you use, we will suppose florins. You prepare for the trick by secretly palming in the right hand such number, say 3, as you intend to magically add. Advancing to the audience, you beg the loan of 10 or a dozen florins (the precise number is immaterial), at the same time requesting someone of the company to collect them and bring them to you. He collects, we will suppose, 12. You request him to count them openly on the table, that all may be able to verify their number. This being done, you invite a second person also to step forward and assist. Picking up from the table the same number of coins as you have concealed in your palm, you give them to one of the 2 persons, whom we will call A, to hold. Then, taking up the remaining coins, you request the second person, whom we will call B, to take charge of them. When he holds out his hand to receive them, you let fall with them the palmed coins, so that he really receives 12, though he believes that he only has 9. You make him close his hand, and hold it high above his head. You then ask A for the coins you entrusted to him. On his returning them to you, you take them between the second finger and thumb of the left hand, and pretend by the tourniquet to transfer them to the right, really getting rid of them at the earliest opportunity on the servante or into one of your pochettes. The audience believe that the 3 coins are in your closed right hand. You announce that you are about to pass them invisibly into the hand of B, and after the necessary amount of magical gesture, you open your hand and show that they have vanished, and B, on examining his stock, finds that the supposed 9 have increased to 12. It is a very good plan, in performing this trick, for the performer himself to collect the coins from the company in a plate, the coins to be added being held in the same hand which carries the plate, when, the thumb being naturally above and fingers below, the coins are effectually concealed. After the coins have been counted, the performer, taking the plate in the other hand, pours them from it into the hand which already holds the concealed coins, thus bringing them together easily and naturally. A further improvement may be made in the trick by using, in place of an ordinary plate, a special plate or salver, generally made of tin japanned, but sometimes of crockery or china. The specialty of this plate, which is known as the money plate or multiplying salver, consists in a flat space running along its bottom, between its upper and under surface, just wide enough and deep enough to hold concealed a row of coins, florins or shillings as the case may be, and closed at the one end, but open at the other, the opening being concealed by the edge of the plate. See Fig. 80. You prepare the plate beforehand by placing in the concealed space 3, 4, or 6 coins, and place it on your table. When you first take it up, you take hold of it near the opening, when you may, of course, handle it as freely as you please, as, the mouth of the passage being upwards, the coins cannot possibly fall out. Letting the plate hang downwards in a perpendicular position, and passing it carelessly from hand to hand, the audience cannot help observing that you have nothing concealed in your hands. Then collect, or count out if already collected, the money in the plate, and, after taking away and handing A number equal to the coins concealed, pour the remainder direct from the plate into the hands of B. First, however, so reversing the position of the plate, which you may do by merely transferring it from one hand to another, as to turn the opening of the passage away from you. When you now slope the plate to pour the remaining coins into his hands, the money in the concealed passage will naturally pour out with them. See Fig. 80. Thus making the required addition with hardly a possibility of detection. It is a good plan to perform the trick first without, and then to repeat it with, the aid of the money plate, making a great point in the second instance of the fact that you do not even touch the money, and accounting for the use of the plate as designed to preclude all possibility for the use of sleight of hand, or any other mechanical mode of deception. The spectators, having already seen you perform the trick without the aid of the plate, are precluded from supposing that this latter has any special connection with the secret, and seeing clearly that you have in this instance no coins concealed in your hands, naturally conclude that the same was the case on the former occasion. Thus the repetition of the trick, instead of assisting them to a solution, rather increases the mystery. The trick may be varied at pleasure so far as regards the manner of the disappearance of the coins which are supposed to be passed invisibly into the hands of the person holding the larger number. One mode is to ask one of the company to wrap them up in a piece of stiff paper, for which you forthwith secretly substitute a piece of similar paper, in which a like number of coins have been wrapped, but have been removed, the paper, however, retaining the form of the coins. Taking this in the left hand, you pretend to take from it, invisibly, with the finger and thumb of the right hand, each coin in succession, and to pass it in the same manner into the hand of the person holding the remaining coins, finally tearing the paper in half to show that they really have passed away from it. Or you may, if you prefer it, place the coins in question on the vanishing plate, to be hereafter described, whence they mysteriously disappear as you take them off one by one. This is a very effective mode. Or you may place them in the plug box, the Davenport cabinet, or any other of the various appliances after mentioned for vanishing money. To make a marked sixpence vanish from a handkerchief, and be found in the center of an apple or orange previously examined. Have ready, concealed in either hand, a sixpence of your own, with a little wax smeared on one side of it. Roll another minute portion of wax into a round ball half the size of a peppercorn, and press it lightly upon the lowest button of your waistcoat, so that you may be able to find it instantly when wanted. You must also have at hand an ordinary full-sized table knife and a plate of oranges. You begin by borrowing a sixpence, requesting the owner to mark it, and a handkerchief. You spread the handkerchief flat on the table, with its sides square with those of the table. Then, standing behind your table, you place ostensibly the borrowed sixpence, but really your own, with the waxed side up, in the center of the handkerchief, then fold over the corners one by one, beginning with one of those nearest to you, in such a manner that each shall overlap the sixpence by about an inch, gently pressing each corner as you fold it down. Ask someone to come forward, and ascertain by feeling the handkerchief that the sixpence is really there. Then offer the knife for inspection, and after all are satisfied that it is without preparation, hand the plate of oranges to be examined in like manner, requesting the audience to choose one for the purpose of the trick. While they do so, your fingers go in search of the little ball of wax, and press it against one side of the marked sixpence, which still remains in your hand. Press the sixpence against one side of the blade of the knife, at about the middle of its length, and lay the knife on the table, the sixpence adhering to its underside. Then, taking hold of the handkerchief as represented in Fig. 81, and blowing on its center, draw the hands quickly apart. The two corners of the side next to you will thus be brought one into each hand, and adhering to one of them, the one which you first folded down, will be the substitute sixpence, which will thus appear to have vanished. Hand the handkerchief for examination, that it may be seen that the coin has really disappeared, and meanwhile get rid of the substitute into your pocket or elsewhere. Turn up your sleeves and show that your hands are empty. Then take up the knife, taking care to keep the side on which the sixpence is away from the spectators, and cut open the orange. Cut about halfway down with the point, and then finish the cut by drawing the whole length of the blade through the opening thus made. This will detach the sixpence, which will fall between the two halves of the orange, as though it had all along been contained therein. Wipe it with the handkerchief to remove the juice of the orange from it, and at the same time rub off any wax which may still adhere to it, and hand it for identification. The coin may, if preferred, be found in an egg instead of the orange, the audience being invited to choose which shall be used. This trick is sometimes performed by the aid of a knife made for this special purpose, with a small spring lever, after the manner of a flute key, soldered against one side of the blade. The coin is held in position by the short arm of the lever, which answers the same purpose as the wax in the form of the trick above described. The disadvantage of using this, which is known as the fruit knife, is that you cannot hand the knife for examination, and this, to our mind, spoils the trick. The traveling counters. This is a very similar trick to that already described under the title of the multiplication of money. It is performed with 12 mental counters. The performer begins by counting the 12 counters on the table, then taking up 4 of them, he hands them to a spectator to hold, and taking the remainder in his own hand, commands them to change places. On examination his commands are found to be obeyed. The spectator has 8, while the performer has only 4. The spectator is now requested to take charge of the 8, when the operator commands the 4 which he himself holds to rejoin them. This also is found to be accomplished. The operator now hands the 12 to a second spectator, requesting him to hold them tightly. After a moment's interval he is requested again to count them, but finds he has grasped them too tightly, for they are now welded together into a solid mass. The performer again takes them, and by merely breathing on them, restores them to their original state. The student, with the experience which he has by this time gained, will naturally conjecture that the trick is in reality performed with 16 loose counters and 12 soldered together, that the performer commenced the trick with 4 counters palmed in his right hand, which he secretly added to the 4 which he handed to the spectator, that, taking up the remaining 8, and apparently transferring them from his right hand to his left, he really transferred 4 only, leaving the remainder in the right hand, and that when he again handed the 8 counters to the spectator, he added these last to them. That in apparently transferring the remaining 4 from hand to hand, he palmed them, forthwith dropping them into one of his pochettes, and taking from the same place, or from under his waistband, the solid 12, which he finally handed to the second spectator in place of the 12 loose counters, again substituting the loose ones as before, when by breathing on them he professed to restore them to their primitive state. As the student has so successfully guessed all this, it would be an impertinence on our part to further explain the trick. The Wandering Sixpence. Have ready 2 sixpences, each slightly waxed on one side. Borrow a sixpence, and secretly exchange it for one of the waxed ones, laying the latter, waxed side uppermost, on the table. Let any one draw 2 cards from an ordinary pack, take them in the left hand, and transferring them to the right, press the second waxed sixpence against the center of the undermost, to which it will adhere. Lay this card, which we will call A, on the table, about 18 inches from the sixpence which is already there, and cover that sixpence with the other card, B. Lift both cards a little way from the table to show that the sixpence is under card A, and that there is apparently nothing under card B. As you replace them, press lightly on the center of card A. You may now make the sixpence appear under whichever card you like, remembering that, if you wish the sixpence not to adhere, you must bend the card slightly upwards in taking it from the table, otherwise take it up without bending. End of Section 20.